What should I take into consideration when I'm registering for classes?
You want to be aware of how many hours you're taking. If you don't take enough to be a full-time student, which is usually 12 hours for an undergraduate, it may affect your eligibility for financial aid. If you don't take enough hours to be considered at least a half-time student, that's generally 6 hours for an undergraduate, it will definitely affect your financial aid. Most state and federal programs require you to attend school at least half-time.
That's good to know.
Yes, and you need to remember that if you have federal student loans and drop below half-time status, you'll go into repayment status.
I didn't know that.
It catches a lot of students off guard. If you work or you're involved in extracurricular activities, you need to take that into consideration. Beyond that, you need to take a look at what you're planning to major in and what kind of program you're in. By program, we're talking about a certificate, a 2-year associate's degree, or a 4-year bachelor's degree. Let's assume you're working on a bachelor's degree.
That's my plan.
Good. Most colleges will expect you to take a certain number of hours in general studies. Your college may not call it that, but what the requirement does is introduce you to a broad base of knowledge. You can usually expect to take English, math, natural science, social science, and foreign language. Some colleges will expect you to take a physical education class, regardless of your major. A good plan is to get as many of your general studies classes out of the way as soon as you can. If you start at a 2-year school and transfer to a 4-year school to finish your bachelor's, you should get most of your general studies out of the way before you transfer.
Thanks for mentioning that. I thought about starting at a community college.
A lot of students do, and it works out fine. But if you decide to go to a large university directly from high school, here's one thing to keep in mind. Most colleges will require a broad literature or history course, so most students will sign up for American literature and U.S. history. At a big school, you might have dozens, many even 100 students in your class. It's easy to get lost in a class that big, but other classes that count as general studies may be much smaller, like Spanish American literature or East Asian history. You'll not only have a smaller class, but you're more likely to have a professor than a graduate student.
Makes sense.
Now, let's assume you've picked a major. You'll need to check out the requirements for that major. You can probably find them online, but it's also a good idea to talk with someone in that department. Pay close attention to prerequisites.
What are those?
A prerequisite is a class that you must have already passed before you can take a certain course. Sometimes a professor will waive the prerequisite, but you should get his or her approval in writing first.
Anything else?
A couple of things. Some majors have different beginning level courses than others. If you're pre-med, for example, you might need to take a different introductory chemistry course than someone who's just taking chemistry as a general studies course. Secondly, always talk with your advisor before you register for classes.
When do I register?
If you're a freshman going to a 4-year school, most likely during freshman orientation. If you're going to start at a community college, you might be able to register for each class the day it begins. If you're a returning student, you can probably register online sometime during the previous semester. And remember, the fewer classes you take each semester, the longer it will take you to graduate.
I'll definitely keep that in mind. Thanks.